Today, we're diving into the incredible life of Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. This is a story that feels almost like a legend about a man who journeyed from a tiny coastal village all the way to the highest office in India, and, maybe more importantly, right into the hearts of a billion people.
You know, this quote right here is not just some nice, inspirational line. It was basically the instruction manual for his entire life. He was living proof that dreams, when you chase them with relentless thought and nonstop action, can literally change the world around you.
So, that's the big question we're going to unpack today, isn't it? How on earth does a young boy selling newspapers on dusty streets grow up to become a guiding star for an entire nation? Let's follow that path, one amazing step at a time. And our story starts exactly there. Not in some grand palace or a fancy academy, but in a small, humble town right on the coast of Tamil Nadu called Rameswaram.
He was born Avul Pakir Jalaluddin Abdul Kalam. His family was simple. His father owned a boat and was the local imam, and his mother was a homemaker. So, they didn't have a lot of money, but what they did have was something far more important.
While his home might have lacked material wealth, it was overflowing with these core values. Honesty, discipline, faith, compassion. This was the real inheritance he received. This was the foundation that would guide every single thing he did for the rest of his life.
You can see his character being built from a really young age. To help his family out and pay for his own education, a young Kalam would get up before dawn to distribute newspapers. I mean, think about that. It just shows you that incredible work ethic and that deep, deep hunger for knowledge were there from the very beginning.
And that hunger for knowledge, well, it was going to take him from those small-town streets to the very edge of science, where he'd end up helping to forge an entire nation's dream.
So after studying aerospace engineering, Kalam joins the Indian Space Research Organization, that's ISRO, back in 1969. And they hand him this monumental task. You're going to lead the SLV-3 project. Now, this wasn't just any old rocket. This was going to be India's ticket to the cosmos, the vehicle designed to launch its very first satellite. The pressure was immense.
All those years of hard work, of failures, of getting back up and trying again, it all came down to this one single pivotal year.
And in 1980, under Kalam's direct leadership, they did it. They actually achieved what many thought was impossible. The Rohini satellite blasted off and successfully reached orbit. This was a huge turning point, not just for him, but for India. The country had officially joined the space race.
But his work in shaping India's technological future was far from over. Not even close. In fact, this next chapter is how he got his most famous nickname. So, in the 1980s, he moves back over to the Defense Research and Development Organization, the DRDO. And this time, he's put in charge of something with massive strategic importance: building India's own guided missiles, basically from scratch. And the results were, well, you can see them for yourself. They were real and they were powerful. Under his guidance, this whole family of missiles was created: Agni, Prithvi, Akash. Each one was a technological breakthrough, and together they fundamentally changed the game for the nation's defense. His leadership on this project was so crucial, so central to its success, that it earned him a title that would stick with him for the rest of his life: the Missile Man of India.
So he's gone from a brilliant scientist to a national icon. His journey was already unbelievable, but the final chapter of his public service would take him somewhere even he probably never imagined.
I mean, just look at this timeline. In 1998, he's a key figure in India's successful nuclear tests. Just 4 years later, boom, 2002, he's elected the 11th president of India. And that just shows you how deeply respected he was by everyone, across all political lines.
And he was never going to be just a ceremonial president. No way. He used the office to focus on the things he cared about most: pushing for scientific innovation, national development, and, above all, empowering and educating the youth of India.
But what really made his presidency so different was, well, it was him. He just broke down all the barriers between that high office and the regular person on the street. His humility, his warmth, and that genuine connection he had with people, especially with students, earned his time in office a very special name: the People's Presidency.
Now, for most people, after you've been president, you'd probably choose a quiet retirement.
But for Dr. Kalam, being of service wasn't just a job title, it was who he was. He didn't waste a single moment. He went right back to his first love, teaching. He became a visiting professor at some of the best universities, sharing everything he'd learned directly with the next generation.
And of course, over the decades, the nation had been recognizing his incredible contributions. He was awarded the Padma Bhushan, then the Padma Vibhushan, and it all culminated in 1997 with the Bharat Ratna, which is India's absolute highest civilian honor. It was a perfect tribute for a lifetime of service.
And the end of his life story, it's just one of those moments that's both heartbreaking and, in a way, profoundly perfect. It was July 27, 2015. He was 83 years old, and he was at an institute in Shillong, giving a lecture.
He collapsed right there, on the stage, and passed away a short time later. He left this world doing the one thing he loved most, standing in front of students, inspiring young minds. He was a teacher right up to his very last breath.
So when you think about that whole journey, from the newspaper boy to a nation's guiding star, you see this powerful truth. Dr. Kalam's life is proof that one single person, if they are guided by purpose and discipline, can ignite the dreams of a billion others. Which really just leaves one final question for you to think about. What dream will you ignite?